Welcome, everyone. I'm Ivy Rivera, psychic medium, a Taino arrow walk, and this is past life readings, where you have two options. You can either ask a question about your current life, current relationships, your past lives, anything goes, and I will look into that question and get it answered for you. Or if you don't have a question at all, you just want to hear what comes up, I will be giving you the most important information for you to understand in your current life. So how do your past lives or a past life pertain to where you are right now? So we also have this as an option up on my website. So you guys can book a past life reading for yourselves, also privately, anytime. Ivy Rivera, psychic medium. .com. First one up is Alicia Fulvey. Okay, and I don't see a question here, so I'm just going to go with whatever is coming in. Alicia Fulvey, her past life, something important for her to know right now. Looks like Sweden. Feels like Sweden. A pickpocket. There could have been a situation. Okay, I see what's going on. You know, in this life, you may be a little paranoid with people who want to like be your friend or work with you, network with you, partner with you. Let's say shared income. Let's say even maybe family members. Okay, because not all of them, but maybe like a shifty cousin or like your brother or, you know, something that isn't necessarily like your mom, your dad, you know, your closest aunt. It's your grandparents. It's out a little further than that. But it does look like you would have gone through a situation where you would have had, and I'm feeling 1500s, where you would have had a lot of responsibilities. You would have been almost like a saint in the way that you were caretaking over community. You were caretaking over family. You were caretaking over, you know, your own children, even other people's children within the family and what may have been like a couple neighbors. You were even educating them to a degree. You are a woman. You were a woman. You would have, I'm not saying you were a teacher, but you were taking the time to educate the kids on, you know, learning how to run things, learning how to read and write, learning how to do basic arithmetic, learning how to do some more complex tasks also. So this could have been like fixing things or out on the farm or, you know what I mean? Like, almost like engineering, mechanical stuff. Like you knew so much, you had so many skills, and you were one of these people that was humble. You weren't always expecting back from others. You weren't keeping tabs on everything you offered. And unfortunately, when you are a good person like that, you tend to have a bunch of bottom feeders who come and feel like, well, if she's got all this to give, she won't notice if a little bit is missing. She won't notice if a lot bit is missing. You know, this is a situation where you were stolen from, and it looks like it would have wiped out pretty much all of your significant life savings. I mean, this is just a terrible situation where you can't get that back. And it puts you in a situation where you were barely getting by after this occurred. So you weren't able to help anybody really anymore. You still continued to in some ways, you know, but essentially you were down to the wire and you were in need. I do think that some people showed up to, you know, kind of help you and pay it forward. That's not a question here, but your broken heart may have led to a lot of health issues and mental health issues after that. And it can be very hard to accept love and really count your blessings after something like that happens. So in this life and currently, you're supposed to be examining relationships, and you're supposed to be honest about who around you is just there to take. Who around you does not appreciate what you really give. They don't see you. It's not that they don't see you for who you are or your value. It's that they don't care. That all they do is take. They may even be around you sabotaging a bit, you know, of your health, your light, your well-being. And the word pickpocket is here. So somebody was taking in like petty amounts. You know, they started slow. You know, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take that. She's not even going to notice, but you did notice. And then it was like a ring was missing, you know, and then bigger, which tells me that you trusted this person, that this person knew where your things were. So in this life, the most important thing for you to be doing right now is making sure that you are getting properly paid out in any contracts, verbal, literal, understood, you know, we understood what the agreement was between us. Are you getting paid or are you getting taken for a ride? And if you have had episodes of this throughout your life where you have felt distrusting of others, even those closest to you, or especially sometimes those closest to you, this is the last of those lessons where the universe is trying to make sure that you are always going to protect you, take care of you. It shouldn't always be about everyone else. Interesting. All right, we are going to move on to another one from Edgar, or I should say for Edgar. Okay, and this is a question. So you guys, if you're tuning in for the first time, you could do it the way Alicia just did it, where she was like, I don't know, tell me whatever. Or you could do it the way Edgar's doing it. Okay, so Edgar has a specific question. He wants to know, I am curious, what was my last past life? I remember being told of a recent one where I was a kid and died in a fire. Okay. So the last past life for Edgar, let's take a look. I am feeling you as feels like a businessman in, New York City, but I'm seeing Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh, PA. What the hell? What is that? Like these different, they're all close together. Something too about Maryland, the port of Maryland. So I think that this life may not come up a lot in regards to, you know, heavy influence on you currently, because it doesn't honestly feel very eventful. Not to make you feel bad, but I don't think you accomplished very much. I think you were heavily focused on your work. I think I'm hearing consumption, which can also be like, that's some type of a disease, but I can't prescribe or diagnose. But it's also like you were consuming money, you were consuming the business deal, you were consuming the expansion opportunities. You seem to be almost like a merchant of some kind, where it's like, well, if I can lock this down, if I can lock that down, I can corner that market, I can have it all, you know, I can move up the ladder. It's like you were trying to control things. You had yourself spread pretty thin, not too thin, but pretty thin. And thin enough that it didn't jeopardize your success in business or your wealth, but it did cost you in having human experiences, having inner peace, being healthy, because you weren't able to, you know, sleep as much as you needed to. You would sacrifice. If you had a health condition going on, you would push it and push it and push it. You could have afforded the medical care, but you would push it and push it because you had this other trip coming up, this other business deal you wanted to get out of the way. You were very avoidant on self-care, very neglectful of your body, very neglectful of your mental health, your emotional well-being, and you really had no relationships. So, you know, what's the cost? What's the cost? Basically everything, right? It cost you everything to have this ability, this prosperity, this wealth. You were also not even very well identified. So not that you were looking for fame, but you would think with this much effort being put in and the way you were able to sometimes kind of corner the market and make it your own, like you were the only distributor back in New York City of, like, let's say some spices or things like this, you know, some home goods. It's like, I would have thought you would have built a better name for yourself, but you really didn't socialize. You were very isolated. You were such a lone wolf that it's like people didn't even know where it came from, honestly. You know, they knew where to go buy it, but they didn't know you were connected to it. They didn't know you. No one got to know you. So I think what you're doing, you know, in regards to like this past life, I don't think it's affecting you necessarily a ton in this life. We have past lives and they don't always affect the next one up. It doesn't always just transfer immediately over. We're zigging, we're zagging, we're going way back. You know, sometimes it depends on your current life contract. I don't actually feel like this one's up for a ton of review in this life, but you should still feel the effects of getting pulled into isolation, getting pulled into obsession with things that like hold your attention. And then like missing the bigger picture on life. But yeah, that was the last one. I also feel like you died prematurely because you did not take care of your health. So, you know, you didn't even make it that far in life, age-wise. Another reason it may not come up a ton. Okay. Thank you, Edgar. Anna Pekka is next, and I do not see a question here. So we're just going to go with whatever comes up. What is coming up for Anna Pekka? Feels like a lot of fruit. These like fruit orchards? I thought you owned them. I'm seeing you as a young female and going out, having a real positive attitude. Looks like 8 years old, 12 years old, you're still doing the same thing. You're collecting a lot of fruit from trees. I feel like I'm around 1650, 1670 maybe. And you know, you're happy. You've got a real upbeat attitude about things. And I don't necessarily feel like it's because you had a lot. And I don't even necessarily feel like it's because you're looking forward to having a lot. It's because you knew how to live in the moment. Okay. You're happy waking up, being able to have a cup of tea, being able to go out and be in nature and be around the fruit trees and steal some for yourself, even though you weren't supposed to. And you know, just live your life in what you felt was a caretaking, almost family environment. But I really think you had some servitude. It feels like, you know, you were there without parents. You were there working for these people who owned the land. It feels like a plantation. And you're Caucasian, but you're working very much like you don't have a choice. Although I don't think you took on the title of a slave or anything like that. So the concern here and what's affecting you now is that you had a real attitude of, I almost want to call it Stockholm syndrome. Okay. You had an attitude of like gratitude and, you know, I'm thankful for my family. That wasn't your family. They were the business owners. They own the plantation. You know, that they let me stay here. It's like, you don't just get to stay there. You're freaking working like all the time for them. You were up early. You were the last one to go to bed. You were dealing with cows. You know, I mean, you were collecting milk and you were feeding animals and you were like, did you not see that? Like, that's the payment. I'm not saying that in this life you should have a bad attitude. I do think, though, you need to understand your worth. And so having this sort of outlook out, you know, at life of like, well, bloom where you're planted and count your blessings and always have an attitude of gratitude. That's a beautiful thing. But everything in its season, you seem to have never, I want to put it this way, you didn't get to the point of analyzation until it was quite late. And I think that came from fear that you didn't want to admit to. You were afraid to really analyze, you know, whether or not you were receiving back in proportion to the work that you were putting out. It was almost like you were sold to them. You feel orphaned to me, you know, so there's like no parents. You could also have some issues going on with your parents in this life, feeling either excessively connected to your parents or like orphaned by your parents in some ways. This in this life is about you questioning what it is that is due you and not being afraid to analyze when you feel an imbalance, not having smile on my face. I'm a team player. This is fine. It's okay. I can give it, therefore I should. No, absolutely not. No. And not getting like in trouble for eating some fruit on some days is not enough of a reason, you know. But you were extremely connected to nature. You had a very, very sweet disposition. And that is, I hate to say it, but something you're probably breaking in this life. Okay. So it's not taken advantage of. We're going to move on to another one. I gotta get my tea before my stomach starts growling here. Hold on. All right, up next is Mark, aka Nature Calls You, and I do not have a specific question, so I'll just give a general. All right, so Mark, aka Nature Calls You. What is coming up for Mark? Feels like some pain, significant pain here in the neck. I'm seeing a past life where it looks like you're a female, long brown hair. I feel like Rome. This looks like a guard coming up on you, or someone in a position of office or authority. This is like a cop, basically, coming up and striking you in the neck. This looks like an attack. We won't get into the details of it, but if you have had flashbacks in this life from 30 to 35 to about anywhere from 65 to 55 to 62, okay, if you have flashbacks of what am I allowed to say? RAP, okay, finish the word, or some type of physical assault to the right side of your neck, jaw, the back of your head, your upper shoulder, even in the armpit. This hurts me. Even when I lift, like right through, that's a very sensitive area. Like bruising that would have lasted months, from being held in that particular spot. But it's really this. It was being hit that would have taken the longest to heal. You did heal, and you kicked some serious ass, you know, but this feels to me like I'm almost getting like a Joan of Arc feel here. You know, this feels to me like a rebellious nature within you after that really wanted to revolutionize the system, that really wanted to kind of burn down the patriarchy, that really wanted to rebel against the systems of authority that were put in place to protect the people. No different than what we have going on today. Okay. They're the criminals. They are the criminals, and always have been. So you wanted to rebel, but you were one of many. Luckily, unfortunately, but also luckily, you were in good company. There were a lot of other women who lived through the experience that you did. The older ones weren't very helpful, but the younger ones were. And so you found support and camaraderie in sort of the sisterhood, you know, of younger people. You could feel that also in this life, where maybe you didn't go to your parents as much or the elders as much as you would go to like your friends. Your friends became your family. Maybe you wouldn't go to a doctor or a therapist or, you know, the cops for things, but you could count on people your age. You could count on your friends, your peers for support. This is about having the opportunity, because it really wasn't safe back then. You guys were severely, severely outnumbered, and there really were no men who stuck up for you. Again, no different than today. Where are all the men? They don't care. They didn't care then. They don't care now. You would be feeling very much interestingly enough, as a man in this life, that you are here to speak up for women's rights, that you are here to speak up, fight against, in a revolutionary position against things like these toxic systems of authoritarian control, revealing where the real corruption is and helping to strengthen people who have survived this type of abuse. And again, it doesn't have to just be the RAP thing. It could also be, physical assault. It could be any of the current issues we're seeing, especially here in America. I mean, it's basically fighting up against the system. This has grown and brewed in you so much at this point. It's not just even about that one thing that happened. It's bigger than that now. And now you have the voice for it. Now you have the room for it. Now you have the capacity for it. Yeah, this is like part 2. Like, you've returned, like she's back. Okay. And all the stuff you couldn't do and say, you are now. You're supposed to be now. So that's your work. We would say this is a reading sort of on unfinished business. Okay. Thank you. Nature calls you. Who do we have next? Just a reminder for everyone tuning in late, if you didn't hear at the beginning of the show, this is my past life readings show. You drop a $10 donation. I can either deliver out whatever is the most important message for you to hear at this time, or you can ask a specific question of any kind. You can also book this privately at Ivy Rivera psychicmedium.com. I just want to ask everyone real quick, could you please give this video a thumbs up wherever you're tuning in from? Drop a comment of any kind, but in particular, I would love to hear how this is helping you, what past life experiences you have had, any other comments or where you're tuning in from. That would be great. Also, please share this and do subscribe. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate it. The next one up is for Mindy, aka Love and Beloved. Any message from my earliest past life that can inform my current life? I sense it's time of wrapping around. Okay, Mindy. So again, not every past life that we've ever had is affecting us right now. We incorporate them into our life contract if they fit with what we're here to accomplish in this life. So we usually work, one, I would say for the average person, someone like you, Mindy, you've worked in 2 or 3, okay, and they affect you at different times in your life. So it's not like the earliest past life, I do feel, though, like you are definitely wrapping some stuff up. We can get rid of that, Diana. I get the gist of it, I think. Thank you. So, I'm just going to wait until there we go. So Mindy, are you wrapping some things up? You are. It looks like 2. It looks like you're wrapping up 2 that are influencing you in this life. So, we want to talk about things like being restricted. We want to talk about things like your throat chakra being shut down. And that's coming from one life. Okay, so let's say that's one thing you're wrapping up, where you would have been attacked in the throat, the mouth, the neck, the lungs, essentially the lungs to the top of the head. You would have been attacked and shut down with your throat chakra. That definitely spilled over into this entire life for you. So up until this point, you have struggled to speak your truth. You have been repeatedly attacked, because when we have unfinished business, we're born right back into the same situation. So this could have happened through family, elders, teachers, parents, being shut down socially. You could be marginalized. You're a woman. There's one hit, the biggest of the hits, right? There's another hit. It's like, shut her down, shut her down, shut her down. So that's huge. And I'm going to break it down in a second here. The other area where you seem to be wrapping it up, as you said, am I wrapping it up, is from a past life that was influencing you probably from, I want to say, 2 years old. I have it peaking at 14 years old. And then it went to about 22, 24 years old. You weren't completely done with all of that yet. And that has to do with relationships heavily. So let's take a look at these. This is what I have time to do today. The throat chakra. Are you wrapping it up? Yes. Just don't stop, because there are still a couple more tests coming in, and they could feel like brick walls laid out in front of you. All right. It's really important that you just keep pushing, so that you keep analyzing, okay, critical eye, doing a lot of discernment and judgment when people approach you and say something to you about what you should be doing, or I'm helping you with this, or that, you know, this is the best option for you. This is your maybe even responsibility to take this on. You seem to have a very critical eye about anyone coming toward you. It's funny because in your head, you're saying they're coming at me. And it's like, are they? I think they're just living, okay? I don't think they're coming at you, but you may feel it that way, and that's fine. That's fine. We'll get there, but I do think that it's about feeling like I don't have my voice. I can't protect myself. I can't fight back. It doesn't have to be a fight. Sometimes setting a boundary is just saying no, thank you, or not responding at all, or ghosting the situation, or saying, thank you for that information. I will take that back and process and let you know when I've made a decision. If they're trying to kind of rush you, or it seems like that type of a system where it's like, you must make a decision. No, you don't. No, you don't. You must take your time. And when you feel that you are speaking from a place of truth, then you go and let them know whether or not you're going to move forward with their suggestion or their contract or whatever they're offering. You know what I mean? It's understanding that you call the shots, damn it, you know, and you're not going to be pushed around in any way, shape, or form anymore. So coming from a place of discernment, in time, that feeling of like they're coming at me, you know, will lessen. And I see that really being the end of the cycle for you, where you're just like, yeah, I'm not really bothered by it. I'm super confident in where I am right now. My throat is clear, meaning A, I speak my truth, and B, if it's ever disregarded, I come at it again, or I set a boundary, or I walk away. That's it. It's no longer of debate. This is huge. This technically would have followed you ballpark 6 different past lives. I mean, this is huge. The other one on relationships, I'm going to wrap this up real quick. You may be getting a little bit more picky about who you keep around, who you let in. That was 3 or 4 past lives. So you've definitely taken your sweet time with these lessons, and I think you are now done. Okay? Not having it. Ready for the next level. So this is a real big deal for you. I would bet other past lives that'll be coming in after this are going to be more fun. It's going to have a lot more to do with your skills and your power, and, you know, I'm seeing Oreo cookies. I don't know. Luxury? Nice. Wealth? Nice. Okay, so now we can get to the good stuff. Who else do we have coming in? All right, next up is Maraid. I'm surprised Ezzy has not come out of her nap to come down here to see you guys. Maraid. Hi, Ivy. How are my past lives influencing me today? I would like to know what I need to be learning or focusing on to move forward in this life. Okay, learning or focus to move forward. Okay, thank you, Maraid. So let me call in your Akashic. She wants to know to move forward. Huh. It's almost like you were afraid to fight. I'm seeing some situations in the past where you may have been working for someone and then you ended up sort of chained up. You know, this could be figurative, but I do think at one point it was also literal. And you're saying like, I don't belong here. I don't belong here. And it's just kind of interesting because you're looking at other people who are also chained up and you're like, it's almost like, what are you saying? They do belong here and you don't? Like, you know, you seem to have not been willing in the past to really analyze systems and to say, if it happened to that guy, it could happen to me. Okay. Versus it happened to that guy because he somehow had it coming and I'm better than that. Therefore, it will never be me. Oh, no. Anything that goes on within a system could at any point be you. It's like you didn't want to look at it that way. So you spent a lot of time treading water on that, trying to figure out ways to escape it, trying to figure out ways to maybe get back into the good graces, okay, of people who were in a position to put you there. But in this life, you are analyzing the systems. You are seeing that anything bad can happen to anyone at any time. There aren't categories of people who are like better necessarily or safer. If it's happening anywhere, it could happen to you at any time. And your opportunity to get ahead in this life is through being of service. So it's healing people's bodies, healing people's minds, healing people's throats, which can mean, and you also want to be careful with your throat, your lungs, your sinuses in this life as a point of attack, like feeling as though every time you backpedal on this and you're like, well, that doesn't apply to me, you lose your voice. Like you get sick. I can't prescribe or diagnose. You get a lung infection. You start getting sinus problems again. It's like, it's back. I'm sick again. Like no one else is sick. Where did this come from? Or susceptible to illnesses that are going around. Just be careful because this is delicate for you. From here to here is delicate for you. This seems to be kind of, really nose to the grind time until you're 35. With it really peaking between 35 and 37, 37 breakthrough year, final time, cutoff point, the last of this influence. You're going to go around the mountain again in future lives as you did in previous lives. Are we going to end it? Okay. We got to wrap it up by 37. Or it gets thrown back on the pile of past lives. Okay. That's the allotted time to deal with this. So that's how you can get ahead. Offer healing, see the systems clearly, and understand yourself within these systems so that you can be more in harmony, okay? Understanding that we are all one. But this is a willingness to really heal yourself, to speak out the truth, and against things that are unjust, but to not punish yourself in feeling like some type of a failure whenever bad things happen. See the things that happen to you as part of the structure, the systems within which you reside, because you still have some level of freaking trickery going on in your brain, some acrobatic bullshit you're trying to pull off here where you're like, yeah, but not me. Like that couldn't happen to me, or I'm not one of them, or that happens to people like this over here. No. And when you think that, you on some level internally blame yourself. Well, I must be crap. Well, I must be deserving it. I must have bad juju. This, it's not that. It's that the system is twisted and you are part of it. Okay. So look at privilege, look at entitlement, look at deprogramming, look at deconstruction. Okay. Look at how the systems work and admit that you are part of them, that this isn't a personal failure. Okay. And get those chains off from your ankles. Yeah, that's going to help you to go forward because you really can't with chains on your ankles, period, point blank. Okay. We're going to move on to Demetrius 7749. And I don't have a specific question. So let's just see what's coming up for Demetrius. Demetrius, I'm seeing you as a pasty, okay, a very Caucasian little girl. I see eggs. What are these? Hens? Do hens lay eggs? Chickens? I'm seeing you in a field. It looks like you're picking flowers. They look like almost like the forget-me-nots, the purplish blue little flowers. I see you picking flowers and you're just sort of, enjoying yourself. And it looks like this is your mother over here. You're kind of trailing along behind her. She's picking more important things. Okay. And trying to kind of keep you busy. like, pick these for me. We need these, they're probably going in the trash, but you are into your work. I mean, you are taking it seriously, you're enjoying yourself. You really idolized her. I think that something happens also back, it looks like some type of fight going on back at the house that may have taken your God damn, your dad was old. Okay. This is one of those, like, my grandmothers were 15 and 16 years younger than the men who married them. Like, this is the slavery system right here. He is old. Okay. Your mom is young. This is him having a heart attack. I was like, oh wow, how did he have a heart attack? He had a heart attack because he was old. Something happened. He passed early. It put you and your mother in a predicament where everything had to be handled and managed after that. Very, very delicately. There wasn't much to go around. This argument that he was having with this other person was about finances. It was about, like, clearing a debt or debt owed. And it put your mother in a situation where I think she had very little to nothing, and there were a lot of other kids. So this is a problem situation. Her parents also seemed to be gone. Okay, so she didn't even really live there. She wasn't even from there. So she had basically no family, and she was bound. It's almost like, I'm bound to the land. You seem to have taken on a lot of responsibility. Long story short, you really grieved the loss of not just the stable life that you had while he was there, even though he was quite abusive and he drank a lot. We could see a renewal of that with your parents in this life. Maybe you did have some alcoholic or drug addicted or neglectful or abusive of a parent, not necessarily both. Could have, though, ran on dad's line for sure. But you lost your mother, more importantly, because you lost your mother to grief. You lost your mother to despair. You lost your mother to freaking stress. How is she going to handle all of this now that he's gone? And the money was basically taken, because after his passing, money was taken. So you took on the parent role, parentification. You became that little helper that you were so excited to do when it was like innocently collecting flowers and like dead bugs. It became like you were actually working, okay, yourself to the bone. You did that for the rest of your life. You worked too hard. You never really trusted anyone. You never really spent a lot of time building up your relationships. There was a lot of heartache there. And I think what you're supposed to be doing in this life at this time anyways, is learning to play more, learning to pick those flowers, learning to understand that not everything is on your shoulders, learning to let it go. Okay. Just learning to, because you would also never abandon her. Like, you would have never gone off on your own to do your own thing and live your life. Like, you cared for her. Okay. Learning not to overexert yourself. Don't overreach. Don't overstretch. Stay in your lane. Okay. Let's move on to Eric Evans. Okay. I just want to make note, the testimonials really help, because a lot of people are like, she's crazy. And then someone in the comment section says, I have that dream all the time, or I actually was able to track my name, or, I already knew this, or da, 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 da. I have those birthmarks. I have that physical stuff going on. I am literally dealing with that right now. Okay. So whatever. I'm just saying, if you guys have a testimonial to leave, so I sound less nuts, it always helps. Oh, do we have one? Okay. Well, sweet. Let's look at this one. Love and Beloved says, thank you, Ivy. I've been a fighter. I've been in fighter mentality in this life. This year has been feeling the message you just gave. Strength can be a verbal no. Your reading was very helpful. Beautiful. I'm going to start running these as like testimonials, as previews for the show too. I love it. Thank you, Love and Beloved. I'm happy for you. Okay. Who do we have next? Eric Evans. Okay, I did say that out loud. Okay, Eric Evans. What past life is influencing Eric right now? feels like coming back into a bit of a position of power. You know, I'm seeing you as someone who was, and almost, I'm hearing apprentice. Okay. I wasn't going to say apprentice. It looked like, how do I want to say this? It looked like you were someone's right hand who was in a position of power. Feeling Italy, feel like I'm going back 1700s, 1730s. This person would have basically had you involved in everything. I mean, everything that they did that was like financial related. This was contracts. This was setting up meetings. This was getting people to come there. This was setting up dates where I could go there. This was, I mean, everything. You know, you weren't tying this guy's shoes, but like other people were. I mean, this was being in a position where you definitely thought, without doubt, that you were going to be the heir to some of this power, definitely this wealth, and that you were in a better position. You seem to be thinking that you were in a better position than what you were. The way it ended up playing out was that other people in positions of power and some family and a lot of his wealth, et cetera, were obligated in other places. You did not move up in that way. This person saw you as more of an apprentice, and that you were benefiting by him gracing you with his presence or allowing you in his presence, and that you were an apprentice to learn how to go out and do this stuff on your own, which is fair to a degree, but also no one could recreate that unless you were extraordinarily wealthy in the first place. Okay. Or you already have, I mean, that's how these positions of power happen, which makes it cheap. Like that is where the offense comes in. I think that what you're doing in this life, instead of feeling, I heard betrayed, you felt betrayed. He felt betrayal trauma. Betrayal trauma. Don't ask me for anything. Yeah. I'm not going over there. I'm not going to put in that effort. I'm not going there. You could be tested currently in this life where it's like being unwilling to really give your heart over to certain relationships, abandonment issues. It could be signs of codependency for sure. I can't prescribe a diagnose. Attachment style issues, anxious attachment style. You could also, when you're being offered something through like work or different companies, you could be very much like with this attitude of like, why even bother? Like, why bother trying? Or I'm not going all the way over there to exert myself for that. You know, there's a sense of you doing this in your own personal life too. So it's like, you could be relocating over here, you know, you could be living over there, and you could open up the world of possibilities for yourself. And you're just like, I'm not going to put in all that effort because nothing ever works out anyways. It's a very negative Nancy naysayer attitude based on this betrayal trauma where you saw yourself as very important and you weren't. So this was not only a blow to your ego, it's something you're figuring out in this life still. And your best path forward is to understand that you need to deconstruct from many areas in your life where you think you're more important than what you are. Like you're being betrayed, you know, like you were told that you were important and you're not. You're going to have to work harder at healing that wound so that you are willing to go explore these new places, these other avenues for yourself, these other relationships. This is where the real significant healing takes place. And until we can get there, you know, you're going to have to do this deprogramming because it's holding you back. There's also a bit of a call here in this life for you to do stuff on your own, because you maybe take up jobs and maybe do great at those jobs. Maybe they want to move you up and and you do fine, you do great. Okay, that's wonderful. But It's almost like an all that glitters is not gold situation where you want to be careful with that because you're supposed to be independent contractor, entrepreneurship, business ownership, the head honcho, the CEO, whatever. You're supposed to be at the top of whatever you do. You're supposed to be making sure that you are in control of your growth, your expansion. You're not waiting on anybody else to give you the okay. And I'm not entirely sure that you've learned that part yet. And you may just have hesitancy in that part, but get out there. Okay, get out there. Because being this guy's apprentice, and you thought you were a lot more than that because technically you were, is not a position you should ever let yourself get into again, where you're like working for the man, you're working for corporate, you're under someone's freaking boot. Their boot is on your neck all the time. You know what I mean? Get out of it. You've had your fill. All right. Let's move on to another one. This is Deanna Marie. Deanna Marie. And I do not have a specific question, so we're just going to go with whatever is coming through. Deanna Marie, most important thing for her to hear. Deanna Marie. I'm feeling a lot of stress in the jaw, tension. This could be grinding teeth. I can't prescribe a diagnose. There is what feels like a marriage. Feels like trying to see which one you were. You may have been in a marriage in a previous life where you were trying to picture which one you were, because in this life, it feels like you're giving back. It feels like you would have taken, I'm going to have to go with the man in this. It feels like you would have taken quite a lot. So, there's a previous life affecting you now. There's talk of 56. I don't know how old you are now. There's talk of 56. There's talk of 57. There's talk of 62. Even at peaking around 63, 65. So we could be revisiting some of these issues. You were in a marriage where you had a heavy hand. You were treated your wife like, she was a piece of property. Probably because legally she was a piece of property. Scary, but it was something you didn't feel a need to see past. It was something she didn't even really push, or require that you see past. She was pretty, I think this puzzle thing is coming up on TikTok. So I'm going to yell while I do this read so I can fix this puzzle. So she was pretty subservient in the system, but she was faking it. Yep. There we go. Okay. So she was faking it. She was making you think that she was like subservient and, that something about hiding money. There was money being hidden. I think you were doing this a lot. So like telling her that there was nothing, and she was going through a lot of sacrifice, and you guys may have also lost a couple kids to like illness, like they died, as children. And she blamed you for some of that because if you weren't so cheap, if you weren't hiding those resources, that money, had you moved faster, had you cared more, it just seems like you just saw everybody as your property, basically. Okay. In a nutshell, you saw everybody as your property, your kids, your wife, whatever, disposable, your property. This is a problem because she turned the tables at some point. And it feels like you were getting poisoned. And I know this sounds crazy, but this actually is not uncommon at all. Okay. But like you were having a lot of pain in your back from whatever organ that is that was like shutting down. And that was the first sign. You would like, sometimes it would be there, sometimes it wouldn't be that bad. Then it would come back and it was almost like spastic. And then it was like all the way around. This pain, this agony. And long story short, she got the upper hand. You misread her. You misread the situation. You misread the power of grief. and you never really apologized. You never really, I don't think, felt bad. And I don't mean to make you feel like, you were a horrible person necessarily. Take it in context. You were within a system where this was normal. Not that that's an excuse, but in this life, you are called to be of service a lot. And between those ages that I mentioned, you are called to be of service a lot. So this is about giving to others. You may have overdone it in your past. And so like you've overexerted yourself for people. You've just given everything away for free. You know what I mean? You've ran yourself into the ground to like be there for others. That's not right either. The pendulum swings real bipolar in situations like this, right? And there's this full dichotomy, but where we want you is sort of in the gray. You are supposed to be entering into a time where you're giving, not from excessive over giving, but from a place where you're caring for yourself, it's well balanced, and you're of service. You're giving from a high vibration, being of service to others. You may attract a lot of women, children, poor people, the disenfranchised in some way, you know what I mean? Marginalized. You may attract a lot of people like that as a ministry, fan base, client base, whatever. But you may also attract a lot of men who have similar issues to what you had, where it's like they see themselves as higher up, entitled. Everyone is for them to just extract from, and you are the lesson for these men. You are the one that they meet that sets them straight. You are the challenge. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. Okay. So being of service, okay, for a while, and expecting these two groups of people, to come to you for very different things. Let's put it that way. Interesting dynamic. Be careful. Be careful not taking food and drinks from people you don't know. I would definitely say, be careful for like even food poisoning in this life. Because again, and I can't prescribe or diagnose, but when we have a theme, that went on there, and it did, because she didn't just like knock you out with one hit. I mean, she did this slowly. She took her time. When we see a theme like that, it does play out in this life, possibly your whole life leading up to that end, that end year I mentioned, or just during the years that I mentioned, but where you're accident prone to certain types of things. And we definitely want to be careful with the organs, the filtration system, and clean eating. Okay. Nicole, what message is coming through for Nicole? Shit. I forgot to plug in my phone. I think I just lost TikTok. Hold on. Let me get everybody back. Where is this? Oh, okay. Mercury in retrograde. Like, is that my fault? Yes, but also that never happens. I don't think that's ever happened. I've been doing shows for at least 10 years. I don't ever remember that happening. Hold on. Let me see what's going to happen with this. Also, Diana, while we let TikTok come back around, can you let me know how many more we have? Because I'm wondering if I need to extend on my blocking out my schedule for tonight. Ooh. All right, let me fix this. That's TikTok coming back. Oh no. Resume the live? Heck yeah, if you're gonna let me. You gonna let me? I'm so sorry, TikTok. I apologize. I lost you there for a minute. 6 more. All right, let me block out my schedule. Is everybody back on TikTok? I have to switch out the screen real quick. Just give me 2 seconds. It should not affect a single thing. We should be just fine. There we go. All right. All right, we are back and we are doing Nicole. All right, Nicole, and I don't have a specific question, so we're just going to go with whatever is coming through. Nicole, what is the most important thing for Nicole to understand at this time? You know, I'm seeing a horse and buggy. This is like a carriage. I'm hearing carriage ride, but I use that term loosely because it seems a little rough. I think people at that time would have said things like, you know, carriage ride to make it seem luxurious or almost like you were traveling at ease in a vehicle, that there were people taking care of things, and it actually feels pretty rough. I think that your position in things may have been running. It's almost like running the carriage. You look like a male, I want to say late teens, early 20s. Trying to see, where are we? Is this the Midwest? So I do think this is America. Okay, so it's like pioneer times, you know, but you are, you're not really getting paid very well for doing, let's say you're a taxi cab driver. Okay, basically, it's like you're not really getting paid. We are saying that this is a carriage ride people can use because people don't either have the means to drive themselves around, or, you know, they're new to town or whatever it is. It was an excessive amount of labor put on you, and the pay does not seem good. The horses, you took better care of the horses than you did, I'm hearing, your own teeth, your own body. There was no thinking ever that you were going to see a doctor or a dentist or anything like that ever. But I do wonder if in the love that you gave to these horses, and you were constantly paranoid that they weren't like eating enough and that they didn't have enough. And sometimes that was a bit of a concern, or weather related issues. You were very, very concerned for them. I think that if any medical attention needed to happen, it was going to go toward the horses. I think you did neglect, in particular, and I can't prescribe or diagnose, but your back molars. Thank you for the hearts on TikTok. Your back molars, especially on the lower left side of your face, the upper, it almost looks like an impacted wisdom tooth. This could also be a, what do we call it, an abscess or something. The upper molar, and some stuff on the other side as well. So what we know now is that if you leave that, it affects the heart. Isn't one of the leading causes of heart disease like gum disease? I mean, you know, I think that ultimately what happened for you was that you were trying to do right by these horses. You were not raising your prices because you were afraid, and we should never, ever make a decision from a place of fear, or it's going to fail. You did it repeatedly. You know, you did not have a lot of confidence as like a businessman. You also didn't entirely own. I mean, when you got started, you know, you were under someone else, so you couldn't. But once you could control your prices, you didn't. You felt like, oh, well, there's too much competition, or somebody else will just do it cheaper, or, you know, I could lose it all together. So I would rather have something than nothing. But like, that's not good business. Because you could have done other things even. Okay. But you didn't see yourself as being able to do other things. You didn't see yourself as being able to raise your prices. You just had a million excuses. And it led to this, what feels like infection, okay, from the teeth. And a lot of health issues. Ultimately, something that feels like it is heart related, but it would have gone lungs and then heart, and you would have actually passed, you know, really early. You were young. Hello, Esmeralda Marie. Hello. Good morning. I think what you're supposed to be learning in this life is to raise your prices, add tax, make sure that every decision you make is from a place of love, not fear. We can make decisions from two places, okay? Fear, which is ego, fear, manipulation, control. It is dark. It will implode. It will blow up in your face. It is a matter of time. Or you can make a decision from a place of love, which is faith. It's positive thinking. It's self-confidence. It's confidence in the universe. It's working with the universe. It's being willing to learn, grow, go into uncharted territory. Okay. The unknown. And everything is guaranteed to work out one way, shape, or form. It's guaranteed to work out in this life right now, especially. You're supposed to be making your decisions from a place of love. Okay. But you were a beautiful soul in some ways. And I really like how kind you were to your horses, like they were your babies. You may be really, really connected to animals. Animals may really like you a lot. We are going to move on to another one. Who's up next? Okay, this is for Tanya. Tanya Rivera says, hi, Ivy. I would like to know what I should be working on in this life that is left over from a past life. Yes. Okay. So Tanya Rivera wants to know, what should I be working on? Okay. So what should she be working on right now? Your strength and clearing your throat chakra and stability. Stability, to me, when I'm looking at this, means stick-to-itiveness, sticking with it, creating stability in the long run by showing up every day in the short, like term, like in the current circumstances. So you may have big dreams. I'm hearing big dreams require big measures or something. Big dreams require big measures. This is coming from your Akashic record guide. So let me just see what we're talking about here. Yeah. You know, this could also involve travel. It's very possible that in one of the past lives that are definitely, I want to say, influencing you now, you weren't able to travel. You remind me of like a butterfly in a jar. It's like you're watching other people go places. You're checking out books. You're looking at maps of the world. You know, it's funny because there's some debate, like, is it round? Is it flat? Like what is happening here? But you want to go places. You were into things like spices and different fruits from different places and silk and like patterns in clothing and colors and like dyes. Like you were obsessed. I mean, you definitely, I'm seeing you as, looks like a younger male who had hopes of being able to work under someone else who would maybe take them traveling, who would like take you on ships, who would take you on, like buying, merchant expeditions and things, but like it just never really happened. And you learned how to work from where you were with what little you had. You weren't super duper poor, but you weren't well off enough. to get to really do the things, okay, that you wanted to do. And one of the things coming up for you now is, I think what your guide here is saying, in big dreams require, big, it's almost like measures, okay, measures. This could also be sacrifices. Okay, so sacrifices of your time, your attention, your energy, planning, this stick-to-itiveness, right? It's a big investment. I feel that part of what you want to build for yourself going forward and what you want to be doing in your everyday life involves the world on a larger scale. And it could quite literally involve a significant amount of travel or multiple residencies, multiple like visas and, all the things, citizenships. So you're playing very small. It feels like what you're trying to do now is come out of that mentality of like, well, I better just stay where I am, or I can't have that, or that's not for me, or I don't have enough. And you're starting to realize that you don't want to spend another life not getting there. Okay. Like, you're starting to take it very seriously. Let's talk of this peaking between like 44, 45 and 52 for you. So this is like, I'm hitting the road. Like, I got to get out here, or, this, what I want to build, because a lot of it is about your work. This like dream big is about the lifestyle I want to have, the work I want to be doing. You're getting real serious about fiercely protecting it, not allowing your schedule or obstacles or other things, other demands, always to come in the way, get in the way. There has also been a bit of a shortage. So you may have like a poverty mentality at the core that you're trying to break. All right. It's almost like breaking a generational curse if you came from a poor family or something, but it's like, I want to have a wealth mentality, because that's how we manifest. It's not about what you didn't have, or, what you don't have enough of now. It's not about that. It's about having a wealth mentality, visualizing the most, whether that be the most clients, that be the biggest platform, that be traveling the world, that be owning multiple properties, it be you having a wide open schedule where you could do whatever the heck you want to do on any given day. Whatever it is, you need to be leaning into the wealth mentality, because it looks like you're trying to break out of this. That would be the best thing for you to do at this point. It's a bit of a hold. I got that for someone else earlier, where it felt like a disappointment. Just like, disappointing situations can kind of haunt us when we didn't get enough, whether it be love or money or being moved up, leveled up, freedom, We really carry that with us into future lives. Okay, let's move on to another one. Thank you, Tanya. Was that Tanya? Yes, that was Tanya. All right, next one up is Nicole Whitehead, 2916. Nicole says, I just had my back molar removed. Oh, okay, so I read Nicole already. So this is a testimony. Were you the teeth person I was just talking about? The guy with the horses with the teeth? You didn't have horse teeth, but you had, they had better teeth than you did. Let me tell you. So Nicole says, I just had my back molar removed and my wisdom teeth prior. I'm also working through money blocks around my business. This currently resonates. I'm not as crazy as I seem. All right. I am, but still. Thank you, Nicole. Love that. Love that feedback. And I'm really glad you're healing. Let's all send her some healing energy. Tiffany Williams is up next. Okay. Tiffany Williams, and I do not have a specific question, so we're just going to go ahead, and TikTok still looks stable, so that's good. Tiffany Williams, what should she be focusing on right now? What past life is coming up? You seem to be in a situation where you had a lot of cats. I'm like, instable? Where are you? Instable? I feel like we're in the Middle East with you, and there's cats everywhere. Cats everywhere. This is nuts. You seem to be a very heavy set gentleman who really likes his wine and cake. Sometimes what looks like chocolate, some type of chocolate or cocoa, but sometimes you're drinking it. You don't care. I mean, you don't care. You're kind of you're sort of symbolically this fat jelly guy, but you were pretty tough. You were very tall and you were intimidating for sure. You may have worked as like a soldier, or you were a soldier for hire. You've always got this sword, and like that's what you did for work. So I pity the fool who had to fight you. You did incredibly well, but the real you outside of work and having to, like, I don't know, kill people, you were and there may have been some of that. There may have been some of this like contracting where you worked as a bounty hunter type. But you don't seem to have a lot of regret about that. It's very much like just doing my job, just chopping off heads, just handling business, and then here you are with these like cats and throwing food at the cats and, kind of feeding the birds, and like you're happy and you're sociable and you're walking down the street in the village and you're, you know what I mean, stopping at the markets and people are somebody's giving you like free meat, like lamb or something. So like you're loved, like the butcher, this isn't family. Like they're giving you free meat. People liked you, and you were very likable. I mean, you were killing people, yes, when you had to, but like you were very likable. That's a sticky spot because people like you love life, but you were also taking life, and you shouldn't have always been doing it. There is, by universal law, no significant karmic consequence to killing someone who's evil or harming others. You can get rid of them and you're good to go. But that's not what you were doing. You weren't killing off evil people. You were sometimes attacking the innocent, the poor, those accused, whoever could afford to hire you, which is always questionable. They got the money to hire you to go bounty hunt, who are you hunting? Victims a lot, so there is karmic debt there that still has to be paid. My jaw is popping. You may feel like something has been chasing you in this life. And I want to say the last 20 years, this runs like a 20-year span, 20 to 25, maybe 27, depending on how quickly you handle this. It's up to you. But you could be feeling like something's chasing you. You could have a lot of nightmares like something's chasing you or following you, or a dark cloud or bad juju, and it is justice that's chasing you. It's karmic debt. It's hard to admit to who you are when everyone kind of, loves you and what you're doing is socially acceptable at the time. Or we can say things like, well, that's just my job. I'm just doing what I was told. Universe doesn't give a shit about any of that. Rightfully so. Okay. We as human beings having, as spiritual creatures having a human experience, as human beings on earth, we are supposed to elevate beyond that. Okay. To see the truth, to see that we're all connected. Okay. We're all one. And we're not supposed to just base our worth or our prosperity or our likability on the systems within which we live, but the universal system. You never really figured it out. And that's what you're doing now. Okay, so there could be a lot of breakthroughs that you're having in regards to feeling like maybe you're confronting things in nightmares that have been reoccurring. Maybe you are making sure that you help people who are disenfranchised in some way. Maybe you are on the right side, of this current revolution that we're in. Or maybe you feel really strongly about protecting the underdog because you have debt in that area. Okay. And also maybe sometimes combating a bit of ego within yourself. So it's like, I do feel like I'm amazing, but in this life, you may also be like, I don't know. I feel like on some level, I'm bad. There's something wrong. So we want to get that back into balance because we don't want you to feel like trash in this life just because you felt great in that life. You know what I mean? We have to get it to a balance. Your image, your likability may have been really attacked in this life as well, or around this time. Maybe it's being very attacked. Maybe people are really making you feel like you're pretty bad, or they don't like you. And you, in the same way that you should not have judged your goodness based on other people's impression of you, you shouldn't be basing, your worth on other people's rejection of you. So we've got a real balancing act of the scales going on here. Okay. You may also be a Libra in this life or have like significant Libra placement or Gemini in this life. Yeah. Possibly Aquarius as well. So trying to just help you along, to get to where you need to be. But you may also attract a lot of cats, like a ridiculous amount of cats and birds, and like animals really seem to love you. And you may be drawn to like those parts of the world where it's like cats everywhere because that was home and you were happy at home. You were very happy and you were very good at what you did. Your hand-eye coordination should be spot on in this life. If you haven't already, go bowl or, you know what I mean? Practice shooting or bow and arrow stuff, basketball, any of that should work out well for you as well. Nature Calls You says, thank you, Ivy. You're very welcome. Thank you. Hi, Mama. You going to join us? Come on. You want to come up? Let's see if we can get Ezzy to say hi. You want to come up here? Come up and say hi. All right. Who else do we have? What else do we have? Just let me know too when you want me to do last call, Diana. Next up is Hazel, aka Miami Heat 305-ish. Meow. I love you. I love you. Do you want some catnip? Okay. You want some catnip? Miami Heat, Hazel. Just a reminder, you guys can ask specific questions or you can just leave it open-ended, okay, like Hazel just did. Hazel, what's important for Hazel to know? Straight out of the gate and getting relationship stuff with you, you appear to be, in the past, it looks like a situation where you were a female. You seem to be doing something, I guess you could call it spiritual. It probably would have been called witchcraft, but where you were reading runes, bones, really long, like black hair. I mean, you kind of look the part of a witch almost, it's very striking. You are striking. And you're real serious. People would come to you, and men in particular, you would debate as to whether or not you wanted to do harm to them or, you definitely weren't going to help them. Definitely not. But to what extent am I going to do damage? It's almost like you were fighting like from behind the scenes. Okay. It's almost like fighting the patriarchy from behind the scenes. It's kind of what this reminds me of a bit. You felt immediately upon seeing like any man, you felt a threat, an immediate threat, but it wasn't from like, I'm going to shrink. It's like, I'm going to end you. Like, I'm going to end you one way or another. Don't come near me. Don't ask for anything. There's a volatility here that never went away. And I do think you were helping a lot of people through what looks like readings, maybe even palm readings at times, women. But it seems like you trusted no one, and somebody at some point would have stolen from, I'm assuming this is your father telling you this, even though I see your mother sitting there like agreeing. So maybe in some way she felt like it also happened to her, or it did, but your parents would have instructed you never to do business with friends, never to trust people around money, or to trust them with money. It made you very rigid. It made you, it's hard to get close to people who just have their parents replaying in their head all the time about what's good and what's bad, and don't trust. And it's almost like you never really learned to fully think for yourself in that area, because you preferred to do what was going to be safe. And so it's like, this isn't even something I'm ever willing to think about, so I'm never going to trust anyone, period, point blank. That's how that's going to go. And it didn't really work for you, because you had some tests in that life where you were supposed to be allowing for other people to give healing back to you, allowing for other people to give protection to you, allowing for other people to help release you from some of the stress of those constant threats, especially from male energy. And like, when you can't trust anyone, you can't accept their help either. It just makes things worse to have to be vulnerable. And you could see this in this life, or that you're examining right now in your current life. Maybe you are examining your parents' influence on you, your familial influence on you, generational curses, so to speak, which is really just psychological programming, where maybe your family was kind of toxic. Maybe just the way they thought of others, or talked about others, the way the world actually works, or how to be with others. It was very culty, like only we are safe. Like within our family structure or something like that. Don't trust anyone else. What you're trying to do right now is bust out, because there is universal law in giving that requires receptivity. There has to be balance. And I see this coming up for reexamination for you. Healing others, counseling others, whether it's reading palms, it's doing energy work, it's being a therapist, whatever this is, this healing that you're like back to give out, are you ready to receive? Because it isn't about whether or not you can trust people who come to you to protect you, to pay you, to give healing back, to support in any way. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with whether or not you're trusting the universe to give back to you. Okay? So the universe pays the debt through these people. And a lot of these people, maybe they're not trustworthy, but they have karmic debt to you in this area. They need to pay it forward. The universe said so. So are you going to like be in the way of all of this, or are you going to get in the flow? Are you going to get with the program? It's never entirely about trusting and never asking questions of another person. It's about trusting that the universe has your back while you accept the things you're required to accept. Okay? And it feels hard for you. It feels like it's a little tricky right now. It's kind of like I've had my heart wounded, like my heart has been hurt. So I really don't want to go there. But, the universe didn't ask you if you wanted to go there. The universe said it's time to go there. Okay. Kaylin from TikTok said your window is scary. Yeah. The whole house is scary. Thank you. Yes. So these windows are beautiful. Was it the second place I filmed? So you can go back and watch videos from, I think it was like early February, maybe, or late January. I filmed in front of another window that was circles. The shapes on each window are a little bit different, but these are original from 1882 etched glass. And it's also creepy because this was a funeral home. So like those are the curtains and everything. So everything was abandoned in here for 16 years. Because the funeral home got shut down for improper disposal of the bodies. And it sat here until I moved in just a couple years ago. So I decided to honor it by leaving the creep factor as is. Yeah, it is kind of creepy, isn't it? I think it's really pretty too, though. I think it's beautiful. I love Victorian architecture. And when the sun comes up, you know, everyone who stays here for the haunted sleepovers, it looks scary now, but when the sun comes up, rainbows come through those windows and flood the entire house, all the levels. It's amazing. They're like, I was actually really peaceful sleeping here. Like, I woke up to this beautiful rainbows, you know, everywhere. I didn't expect that. It looks so creepy at night, but in the day, it's a different story. But the ghosts are here 24/7. All right, we are going to move on to another one. Tiffany from TikTok said that Ivy, okay, am I reading that right? Tiffany from TikTok said, Ivy, this explains why I got a cat when I was 27 years old and have had many, many since. Also, I've always had a hard time trying to fit in with people. I do help people who really need help. I guess your reading is really, really resonating, and I love cake. I love cake too. I love cake and cats. Well, you know, you can't make this stuff up. That's hilarious. And here you are, like a girl looking totally different, and you were this big, huge guy, you know, and it's the same. It's the same vibe. It's too cute. All right. I love that. Nicole Clarkson. Is this another one for Nicole? Did I already read this, Nicole, or is this someone else? Whatever. I'll just go. I don't need to know. I'm just not even going to address it. Okay. Nicole Clarkson. So what past life is affecting Nicole Clarkson at this time? What's important for her to know? Dot your I's, cross your T's on any contracts. It's like someone gave you the paperwork and you're looking at the math and you're like, this math isn't mathing. You may have had a position in a previous life where you were in the wrong at times for misconstruing information in contracts. You know, this reminds me a lot of being a lawyer. It just reminds me a lot of like, you know, I'm going to spin this, you know, how can we spin this? It's deceptive. It's deceptive language because the people who were going to sign, honestly, they couldn't even really read. I mean, it didn't, you know, or they couldn't read. So it's almost like you're putting it in there and you know, all right, you're telling them it's not a big deal, but like, you know what you did. There was some, I feel like you dealt with this though. I'm trying to see why this is coming up if you paid the debt. It's like a revisitation. You know, the universe takes its sweet time. Let's say you did some people dirty and you were just doing your job. That's the second time that came up here tonight. You were just doing your job, right? As this like either legal advisor. I don't really think that's where you were. That's what you were as much as you were someone who designed contracts. Okay. The wording of contracts. You were a writer, you could say. Okay. You had debt to pay in that life because you did some people dirty, 100%. You were also real keen on detail. I mean, you would catch if someone put a contract in front of you or their story switched up, or even in your personal life, if you were like, what happened on Tuesday? And then later you would be like, oh, I'm gonna come back around again. What happened again on Tuesday? You would notice if a detail changed. You were clocking everyone like they were liars when in actuality you were part of the problem. So you could spot it, okay? As most people in those situations can. Nothing got past you and you could pull over pretty much anything on anyone. But I feel like you paid the debt for the most part. You would have been, I keep getting England too. I don't know if I said that. Am I in 17 or 18, early 1800s? It feels like early 1800s. I think I'm going to have to go with an England here. But, you know, you were pretty unapologetic about the whole thing. You didn't even examine it. I mean, you didn't feel bad. You didn't really feel anything. You were unapologetic about it until it happened to you a couple times. And it didn't happen because you didn't catch it. It happened because you were sick. And so you didn't read the contracts, or you didn't know what the negotiations were. You didn't know who was assisting. And, you came out of it, you healed, but it does feel like it may have been a lung issue. So you could also, need to protect your lungs extra at this time. I can't prescribe or diagnose, but the bottom line is that some people had to come in and assist you, and you took some losses from that. They aren't people or situations or contracts that you would have agreed to if you were 100% yourself. And after 3 separate hits, one also coming from what looks like a love affair. So possibly at this stage in your life too, you've dealt with deception from a lover who tried to steal all your shit or ride your coattails, or felt entitled, told you they were going to be there for you in a supportive way, and then just took everything from you, like emotionally, mentally, you know what I mean? Kind of lied, like future faking type thing, thinking you weren't going to go anywhere. So you take a couple hits like this, you start to analyze real quick. Did I deserve this? Is this karmic? You know what I mean? And you develop more compassion for other people, that you had done it to. I do think you're in the last of it, where it's coming up for reevaluation, Spirit's saying. So it's almost like you're being tested one last time in this area. I would be careful for anything borderline shady. Okay. And I'm not talking about, I'm talking about with individuals. I'm talking about doing people wrong, or, you know what I mean? Throwing someone under the bus, or gossiping, or, cheating someone, just anything like that. Just be careful. You are up for a final test and reevaluation process. Looks like this runs about 2 years. All right. And the karmic hits on this can be big if you screw this up, because you should have already really learned your lessons. But this is why the universe tests us. And it's just sort of a general message for everyone. This is why the universe can test us over and over and over again. And we're like, oh my God, how many tests am I going to go through? Haven't I proven myself? The universe knows how long it took you to make the right decision, whether or not you were only doing it because you felt like something bad might happen to you, or were you doing it from an authentic place? The universe clocks every freaking detail. And if you are just even wavering in the littlest amount, we've got more testing to do. Oh, you want to come up? So, okay, pass them. We're going to move on to another one. This is Edgar. So Edgar has a question. So Edgar wants to know, these are unlimited. Okay, you guys, so you can ask as many as you want. Edgar Velarde says, did my current friend Melissa and I have a past life together? Okay. Hi, Ezzy. Hi, honey. Come up here. Join us. Come up. Go round. Did Melissa and Edgar have a previous life together? I think you did. This looks like, I was going to say siblings, but I think it's cousins. So a couple of the things you guys may notice in this life is you're the same, race or nationality, or, culture or ethnicity, or there's an appreciation, okay, for the same. Maybe you even look alike. I mean, my cousins and I have the same hair color, eye color, body build, birthmarks in the same identical places. I mean, we talk the same. We have the same accent. It's creepy, right? And they're not like my siblings. They're my cousins. And other people will notice it and be like, I could piece you together from hours away. It's happened. And it's something that doesn't tend to break from lifetime to lifetime also, where the face, the hair, the body build, the laugh, the humor between the two of you, the way you talk, at each other or over each other, kind of stumbling around through the conversation, but it makes perfect sense to you guys. There's a lot of harmony there that is, comes from, also in the past life, this is a situation where cousins were often more like siblings. Yeah, just more like siblings than cousins. There was a lot of time together, actually. So I feel like it was very pleasant. I think that you guys worked on some stuff. It seems like taking things, this looks like wood. So maybe like chopping wood, cutting wood, like having fun, you know, dealing with like everyday tasks, but also taking things to other people. So you may have really enjoyed pairing up with each other to go do chores or go do tasks. Some of these tasks were within the family. So maybe like your mother would say, you know, you and your cousin go take the stuff, oh, you know, over to your aunt's house or something like that. Okay. So it looks like the two mothers were sisters. Looks like two mothers. Your mothers were sisters. So it's like take this stuff over to your aunt, or sometimes it was take this stuff into town. And so you were getting paid, or there was a trade or an exchange. And you guys would have to do a little bit of like business, you know, which is interesting. So the nature of the relationship in this life may be kind of taking that up to the next level, like maybe doing business together, being able to work in harmony as a team, where it's almost like because you have this hidden language, you know, because you have this sort of hidden understanding, because you have this almost private dialogue going on between the two of you. It's kind of like you two against the world sometimes, or you two within the world, but having your own thing. You know, it's kind of telepathic and clear empathy as well. So like you feel what she's feeling, she feels what you're feeling. Okay, you guys don't ever have to talk about it. You just feel it. There's an understanding. There's an understanding, and it's odd when it's this freakishly odd. You know, it didn't just pop out of nowhere. You know, it has to have history. So other relationship work was already laid down. 100%. Very harmonious. Love it. You also have each other's backs. Okay, which is like a big part of cousinhood, right? It's just having each other's backs all the time. I'm so hungry. All right, let's see where we are now. I see some people asking about like legal stuff or financial stuff in the comment section, but that's not what the show is. So you can go onto my website, ivyrivera.psychicmedium.com, and you can book a money or finance read. Okay, you could also just book a straight up psychic mediumship read and then just make sure, you know what I mean? Probably I'll get to it without you even asking. Okay, but in the event that you had specific questions, you can also ask. You guys can also always do an email reading. So I know everyone's a little tight on cash, but I do work internationally. So there should be something in the booking schedule for everyone. I do phone readings for the most part. And if it doesn't work out in your schedule, you can get a video reading. And if you can't get yourself a full read, you can always just drop a 1-question email read. I want to do last call. So last call, if anyone is waiting to drop their question or your payment, go ahead and do so at this time. And also just a reminder, upcoming shows, I will be back on Sunday, right? What is today? Yes, I will be back on Sunday for another Roots Revival church service. If you guys missed the last one, what the heck was the last one? Hold on a second. Diane, if you want to just take that down real quick. Let me just think real quick. I just told someone about it. You know, I did a couple in a row that were about like protection, rituals, okay, processing things, different tools that you can use in your everyday life. So you may want to check those out. But yeah, I can't think of it. So this Sunday is going to be the art of intimate detachment. Diana, if you want to pop it back here, 9 p.m. Eastern on all these platforms. We are an interactive church service. So I encourage you guys to drop your questions, drop your comments even ahead of time, and I'll get to them. But this was requested by the audience. So you guys were asking, how do I get involved in intimate relationships of any kind? How do I build real connection with people, friendships and lovers mostly, without feeling enmeshed? without feeling obsessed with the other person, without having constant dysregulated nervous system or fear that they're going to disappear? How do I deal, with all of these overwhelming feelings that are taking the pleasure, the joy out of meeting and getting to know new people? How do I get rid of that? So that's what we're going to break down, the art of intimate detachment, loving from safety. I will be back the following day, which is Monday, for love and relationships reading, breaking down any questions you have on any of your family, friendships, lovers, and you guys voted that in for the 2026 show lineup. You can also do that privately if you ever want to. Up on my website, you just click on love reading. And then I'll be back Wednesday for, are you a psychic, a medium, or an empath? I will tell you what intuitive intelligence you have going on. Oh, apocalyptic. That was the last one. Yes. Okay. That's right. That's right. Apocalyptic times. Yes. Thank you. Okay. So we have another one coming in here for Luda. So Luda does have a question. And this is, what residue of past lives do I have yet to get over karmically? Everything? Oh God. Let's see what's happening with this. Okay. Karmically, what does she still have? Money, let go, health, deal with it, relationships, block them, being double-minded, personally, not caring, taking ownership, not seeing yourself as connected to one. Okay. And some environmental stuff. Okay. So let's just, and this, this isn't all going to happen in one life. There's no way in hell this is all going to happen in one life. So we have to pace ourselves. Okay. It's like a relay. This isn't a, sprint to the finish line. That's not what soul evolution is. And when we come here to have a human experience, it's rarely the only one we're ever going to be having, right? So you got unfinished business. Your question is, what is not karmically dealt with? Here are just a few of the things I have time to mention today. Could there be more? Probably. Money. Your ideas about resources. You have a tendency to grasp, to clutch, to be unwilling to let go when you should. So this could be investments. This could be taking risks. This could just be taking calculated risks. This could be you having a wealth mentality versus a poverty mentality. This could be you staying at jobs for longer than what you should have. Okay. It's like knowing when to leave the party. It's like understanding that being in alignment with the universe brings wealth and resources of many different kinds. You may also be fixated on cash itself instead of resources in general, which could be things like, networking and community and skills and, tools, like outside the box thinking. There are a million different ways to think of resources, shared resources, opportunities for expansion. Okay. You just very in the box thinking. So we're not done with that yet. Okay. Another category that comes up for you is health. Deal with it. This can mean that in the past you have not dealt with it. It is as it sounds. You have decided to postpone things. You've decided to push things down. You've decided that things don't exist. You may have even in this life had a father and a grandfather who both did that, and you watched it, and it set a bad example for you where you were like, well, I'm also going to ignore my health. Okay. Health. Deal with it. I can't prescribe or diagnose. Relationships. A relationship karma issue you have is not blocking people, collecting red flags, turning red flags pink, holding space, giving where you shouldn't, martyrdom, victimhood. Okay. Allowing things in that just shouldn't be there. This could have also started with some family members. So it's like, well, I'm obligated, or, that's what family does. You could have been born into a blood is thicker than water system. Yeah. there's a lot you're breaking through with that mentally first. Then we have another category, which I just put as personal. Let's talk about personal karma. You're double-minded. One step forward, two steps back. My intuition told me this, but I'm going to go with my emotion instead. My intuition told me this, but I'm going to go with my excessive overthinking and logic instead. I know this is probably the right thing to do, but I'm going to shoot myself in the foot instead. I know I should be doing this. I know I should probably be doing this right now, because I should have probably done it like a year ago, but I'm going to wait a little longer. I'm going to wait for another sign. I'm going to procrastinate. Okay. This is double-minded. Not caring. Another category that comes up here. No one's ever going to ask this question again. This was very bold. I honor you truly, Linda, for this. Linda, is that the name I have written here? My handwriting is so sloppy, but I mean, this is a great question to ask. It can be a little overwhelming, but again, you're not handling all this in this life. It's piece by piece, little by little, here and there. Another category is you not caring. You have had past lives where you didn't really give a shit about anyone else. You were very like dog eat dog, and it was very cold, and it was so you may be very warm in this life, and you may feel like, no, that couldn't be me. Oh, it absolutely was. That's why you're the polar opposite now. You're supposed to be taking ownership of the fact that you didn't really care about what was happening to other people. And so you could be really coming into a sense of being connected to, the universe. Like we are all one, like all humans are one, as are animals. Okay. And being almost like having a hyper awareness of that truth, and being very offended when you see it being disrespected, by others. You may be for the underdog, okay, and put yourself on the line, even rightfully so. You're supposed to, because you got to pay that karma back. And then some environmental stuff comes up here too on a final note. So you may have done some pretty dirty things in waterways, okay, that you really shouldn't have done. And it was sort of like, well, that's how things get done. That's how we do things. It's like, no, that's what you chose to do. You could have easily pushed for some political movements, or for the taxes to be used, or for things to be cleaned up. But you didn't. You were like, dump this crap in here and kill everyone. You know what I mean? Make everyone sick. Like, not my problem. Again, there was a lot of not my problem, not my monkeys mentality, when it absolutely was your circus. Those were your monkeys. You're a monkey too. There was a lot of that went on. And so we got to clean a lot of that up still. So be careful for privilege or entitlement. A lot of deconstructing in this life, a lot of deprogramming in this life, like leaning into that understanding of everyone being connected, and the universe. So there's a lot. That's what I have time to get to. But I wouldn't say this is like uncommon, in any way. But kudos for you for even asking. Most people don't want to look ever at all at what they need to do. Okay. And this is why I love this show so much, because I really thought it was going to possibly faceplant, when I ran it through the tests, and it was, you guys blew this one up, I think bigger than any of the other test shows I did. And I said, holy shit, a couple years ago, because I've tried this before, this was a fail, but I felt like I was going to try again. People are ready to grow. People are ready to change. People are ready to learn. And if we really want to understand who we are and where we're going, we have to understand where we came from. Okay. I am just so pleased with this turnout. It's absolutely amazing. You guys are fabulous. All right. Thank you so much. Did I get to everyone, or do we have a couple more? So Tiffany from TikTok wants to know, when do you do the sleepovers? So the sleepovers aren't something I host like at different times. It's something you book when you want to. So you can get a group of people together. You can have up to 25 people here. The biggest groups I think I've ever really had are like 15, 16. Most of them are like 8. Some of them are like 4. I even had a couple dudes come through, or like couples like to book this on their anniversary and stuff. I don't know. They do these road trips where they hop from place to place, haunted place to place, because again, this is on the Haunted History Trail of New York State. So you can go from like my place to another place, to another place, to another place. You know what I mean? You don't have to just come all the way out here just to hit this. So what you do is you reach out, go to my website, ivyrivera.psychicmedium.com, and then you'll see all the information there for the house, ghost hunts, historical trails, and the haunted sleepover experience is what you're asking about. And then you're going to reach out, you're going to give some dates, and my assistant is going to get you set up with whatever dates you're looking at and what's available. And it's a ton of fun. And you can record and all the good stuff. Kelly Doubled asked, when will you be doing these kind of readings again? So you can always get a past life reading on my website. You don't have to wait for the show. So it's up on my website, ivyriverapsychicmedium.com, under past life readings. Like, you can't miss it. You just click on it and then pick how much time you want. But I will be back for past life readings. Diana would know better than me. I'm not even sure, Diana. Basically, what you do is follow me on social media, because I post what shows I'm doing usually in the next 24 to 48 hours. You'll be able to see them there. So just keep track, because I think at this point I'm doing 8 different shows, 10 different shows. So they cycle through, and they're all shows that you guys voted in and freaking love. So I'll probably do this again in I don't know, a few weeks, a month. I'm not sure what the roundup is. Oh, March 20th. Look at Diana on her game. Is that in a month? Yeah, it is a month. March 20th will be the next time I'm back for this. Thank you, Diana, because we can only work Diana so much. Okay. We have another one here for Misa, Myssa. Okay, Misa. Misa, nothing in particular being asked. Misa. What's important for Misa to know right now? Speak your truth. Stop being held back. You had a past life here where you were shut down a lot. I do see you as a female, but you were way more timid than you needed to be. You were one of, it looks like 8 or 9 siblings. I mean, I think there were more, but I think a few passed. There's 13 or 16. Oh my God. And you were one of the 8 survivors. Oh, that's why you were quiet. Okay. So you were real quiet because I guess you were just happy to be alive. I guess you were just not wanting to rock your parents' world any more than it already had been. You definitely didn't want to upset your mother or step on anyone's feet. You were a very loving soul. You were very supportive. But, when a child doesn't have room to explore and speak their truth and be playful and loud and crazy and wild, and, you were a storyteller, you were a performer. I mean, you really wanted to sing and dance and shine. And you did sometimes at home, kind of in the quiet in front of the fire, like you did. And with your siblings, you were fun. But out in the world, you were cripplingly shy. And I don't believe you were an introvert at all, but you felt like always something bad was going to happen, a terrible foreboding, or something bad could happen. Your parents also taught you to be more humble than what they should have. They should have given you a little bit of an edge, going out there in the world, because you were dealing with the market. You were dealing with people who sold things. You were dealing with vendors. You were dealing with neighbors. You were dealing with sales. Your mother seems to be doing something with clothing and sewing. This could be another theme in your family in this life, where they're kind of running side hustles or businesses. And you were kind of running around delivering things. And sometimes if people didn't want to give you the money or whatever, you would be like, well, do I don't want to bring it up. It's due. It reminds me of as a kid having a paper out, and you're delivering this paper, but you're they haven't paid, and then I'm knocking on the door and they're not coming out. And it's you want to be able to say something, but at the same time, you kind of can't. There's this sense here of you deciding that in situations where you should speak up, you would have a tremendous amount of stress, because it's the pressure of letting down your parents, in particular your mother. So we would see that again in this life. Or the it's possible your parents are very supportive in this life. It's possible you got the opposite, okay? Because that can happen if they've debt to you. Take it out resonates. But this do I fight for my parents and do I get in trouble with them? Or do I fight with this stranger, and potentially get in trouble with them? It was just too much for you, because you weren't given the freaking skills to go out there. This is why I said, I blame your parents, because your parents should have taught you how to throw a couple elbows if they were going to put you in those situations. But they weren't thinking they're not child psychologists. You know what I mean? They were just thinking go bring this stuff over there and bring back the money or whatever you were trading, and it stressed you out, and it wasn't fair. you were, you know, in like a, what do they call it? Work with a three-legged table or in a three-legged race or something. I mean, you were inhibited, you know, you were stunted. I think what you're dealing with in this life is figuring out how sometimes when you have an obsession to say something, or it's almost like a tick, or it's like, I must do this thing, or I must act out, you know, I must. It's coming from that place where you don't want to get back into this complacency, or this stress, this dichotomy, this bipolar battle. You know, you though need to come to center more. This is the big lesson for you, is understanding, you know, if there's a problem, I have many tools I can work with, because you certainly didn't. And that was not fair, but be more confident in the tools that you have. And don't forget that when we talk about you speaking your truth, it's not just about the words you use. It's about not thinking about things. It's about what you show up for, what you refuse to show up for. It's about your body language, right? It's about what you give emotional energy to. There are a million ways to communicate. And it's not all just about the physical reactions, the action, or the verbal stuff. Okay. You are in a position of control now. You have many, many tools to use, and you don't need to be stressed out in confrontations anymore, or always got your back up because you're ready to brawl. Yeah. Or it manifests in you as illness. I can't prescribe or diagnose. Stress, cortisol, you know, stomach chub, hair loss, just stress. Okay. You don't need it. I would even do a ceremony. I would cleanse that out. Let's move on. Is there anyone else, or are we at time? Kelly doubled. Oh, hold on. Tiffany said, it's the year of the fire horse. We have to be ready to change. Yes, absolutely. We have to be ready to change. We just spent so much time going through, right? Everything we don't want, and all the tools to get rid of it, and all the tools to rebuild. Now we have to put this stuff into action. Kelly doubled said, I just found your page and I love it. Thank you so much. I am honored to have you here. We hope to see more of you. I am also, I don't know where you guys are tuning in from. The best place to support me and to tune in for everything is here on YouTube at AskIvy the Medium, but I also have TikTok. There are a lot of fake copies on my TikTok. My TikTok has just over 300,000 followers. So make sure if you're transferring from somewhere else, you get to the right channel, and that's at AskIvy. I also have an Instagram, Ivy Rivera Psychic Medium. If you guys need to book a party, a psychic fair, a reading of any kind, or a healing with me, I do work internationally. Super simple self-booking system. Go to ivyriverapsychicmedium.com. There's something for everyone up there. I love you guys. Thank you, Diana. And there is, oh, thank you, Diana. Diana and Kim, my producers, now put timestamps in the comment section for you guys, because I know a lot of you drop your money off early and your questions, and then you just watch the replay on YouTube later. So whether you're doing that or you're tuning in and you're like, did I miss it? Timestamps are now in the comment section for you guys as these shows grow bigger. So hopefully that will help out as well. Thank you, Diana. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I will see you Sunday for the Art of Intimate Detachment, How to Love from Safety. You want me to just wait forever, Diana? What are you doing? Diana falls asleep behind the wheel. Waiting for you to shut this down so I can go